The wedding hall is filled with light and flowers. Everything looks perfect. The tables are covered in white cloth. Candles burn softly on every surface. Guests sit in rows wearing their finest clothes. Some are laughing. Some are wiping happy tears. Outside, the sun is going down slowly. Inside, the music plays low and sweet. This is the biggest wedding the city has seen in years. The man getting married is no ordinary man. His name is Tobias Renaud. He is one of the richest men in the entire country. Everyone wants to be here today. Everyone wants to see this. Tobias Renaud stands at the front of the hall. He is tall and broad-shouldered. His suit is dark and fitted. His shoes are polished so clean they catch the light. He does not smile much, but today he is trying. His hands are clasped in front of him. His jaw is tight. His eyes keep moving to the door. He has waited a long time for this day. He has told himself this is right. He has told himself this woman is the one. Her name is Celeste Dufour. She is beautiful, and everyone knows it. Celeste Dufour walks down the aisle slowly. Her dress is white with beads along the edges. Her hair is pinned up high. Her neck is long and elegant. The guests stand as she passes. Some reach out to touch the edge of her dress. She smiles left and right. She is gracious and composed. She has practiced this walk many times. She knows how to move. She knows how to make people feel like they are watching something sacred. But her eyes, when she reaches Tobias, are just a little too practiced, just a little too controlled, almost like a performance. The guests settle back into their seats. The officiant begins to speak. Tobias looks at Celeste, and she looks back at him. Everything seems fine. Everything seems like a perfect wedding. But then something happens. A maid walks in from the side door. She is not supposed to be in the ceremony room during this part. The guests turn to look at her. She is young, a black woman with steady, dark eyes. She wears the plain uniform of the catering staff. Her name is Kessie. She is carrying a small white envelope in both hands. She walks directly toward Tobias. The room goes completely quiet. People look at each other with confusion. The officiant stops speaking. Celeste watches with her lips pressed together. Kessie reaches Tobias and stops. She holds the envelope up to him and says nothing. Her hands are shaking just slightly. Tobias frowns. He looks at her face. He looks at the envelope. Something in his chest moves. He does not know why. He reaches out slowly and takes the envelope from her. Kessie steps back. She does not run. She just steps back one step and waits. The whole room watches Tobias hold the envelope. Tobias looks down at the envelope in his hands. It is sealed with clear tape. His name is written on it in small, neat letters, not typed, handwritten. He turns it over. There is nothing else on the back. He looks up at Kessie again. She is still standing there, still not running, still not speaking. Her eyes are steady now. He looks at Celeste. Celeste's face has changed, just barely. But Tobias has spent years reading people. He has built a business empire by watching faces. And what he sees on Celeste's face in that moment is not confusion. It is fear. Tobias opens the envelope right there. He does not step away. He does not go to a back room. He pulls out a folded paper and opens it slowly. The guests are so quiet you can hear the paper unfold. Tobias reads the first line. Then he stops. His whole body becomes still. He reads it again. Then he looks up at Celeste. His eyes are no longer trying to be warm. They are flat and focused. Celeste swallows. He looks back down at the paper. He reads it one more time all the way through. Then he folds it carefully and puts it in his jacket pocket. Tobias looks at the officiant and says quietly but clearly that he needs a moment. The officiant nods without speaking. Tobias turns to Celeste. He says her name once, just Celeste. She looks at him. He asks her if there is anything she wants to tell him right now before they continue. Celeste blinks and she touches her necklace. She smiles and says, "Of course not." She says everything is fine. She says this is just some silly interruption. She says they should continue. Tobias looks at her for a long moment. Then he nods slowly and says, "Okay." And then he says they cannot continue. The guests erupt. People gasp. Someone knocks over a glass and it shatters on the marble floor. Celeste's smile disappears. Her mother stands up from the front row. One of Tobias's old business partners leans over to another man and whispers something. Tobias does not look at any of them. He keeps his eyes on Celeste. He says the paper he has just read is a potency test result, and it shows something that changes everything. Celeste says nothing for 3 full seconds. Then she laughs. She says that is ridiculous. She says someone is playing games. Tobias does not laugh with her. Tobias says the medical report in his pocket shows that he has been fertile this entire time. Fully fertile. His voice is low and careful. He is not shouting. He is not crying. He is using the voice he uses in boardrooms when something has gone wrong and he needs to stay sharp. He says for the past 2 years, Celeste has told him he cannot have children. He says she told him a doctor confirmed it. He says she used that lie to explain why she was not getting pregnant and why they should stop trying. He says the test in his pocket, conducted 6 weeks ago at a private clinic, shows that none of that was true. Celeste says that is impossible. She says she does not know what he is talking about. She says whoever gave him that paper is lying. Tobias turns his head slowly and looks at Kessie, who is still standing near the wall. He asks Kessie to stay. Celeste's mother walks forward now. She is a tall woman in a green dress with a sharp jaw and sharper eyes. She points at Kessie and says that girl has no business being in this room. She says security needs to remove her immediately. 2 men in black suits begin to move toward Kessie. Tobias raises one hand, just one hand, and both men stop. That is the kind of man Tobias is. One gesture, and people stop. He says no one is to touch Kessie. He says Kessie is going to talk right here, right now, in front of everyone. Celeste grabs Tobias's arm and says, "Please, not here. Not like this." Tobias looks down at Celeste's hand on his arm. He does not remove it. He just looks at it. Then he looks at her face. He says if she has nothing to hide, then she has nothing to fear from hearing what Kessie has to say. Celeste pulls her hand back. She smooths her dress. She lifts her chin. She says, "Fine." She says, "Let the girl talk. Let everyone hear whatever nonsense this is." She turns to look at the guests with a small, tight smile. The guests are frozen. No one moves and no one leaves. The flowers on the tables tremble from the air conditioning. The candles flicker. Tobias walks toward Kessie. He stops a few feet from her. He asks her gently who she is. Kessie takes a breath. She says her name. She says she has been working at the catering company for 3 years. She says she also works part-time at a private medical clinic downtown. She says she was there 6 weeks ago when Tobias came in under a different name to have blood work and a fertility panel done. She says the results were sent to a secure address, but she recognized him. She says she would not normally have come forward, but then she found something else. She pauses. She says 3 months ago, a woman came into the same clinic and requested that a false infertility report be drafted on Tobias's name, using old records. She says the woman paid cash. She says the woman was Celeste. The hall goes cold. Celeste speaks loudly from across the room. She says this girl is a liar. She says she has never been to any clinic. She says this is clearly a setup. Someone has paid this girl to ruin the wedding. She looks at the guests and asks who could believe such a thing. A few people nod slowly. A few look uncertain. Celeste's mother comes to stand beside her daughter. The 2 women look strong together. They look practiced. They look like they have survived difficult situations before and will survive this one. But Tobias is still looking at Kessie, and his face has not changed. Tobias asks Kessie if she has proof. Kessie pulls folded papers from inside her uniform. She holds them out. Tobias takes them. He opens the first one. He reads it. He opens the second. His jaw tightens. He turns around slowly and faces Celeste again. He holds up the papers and asks Celeste if she has ever seen these. Celeste says nothing. He asks again. Celeste says she does not know what those are. Tobias asks his personal assistant, who is sitting in the 3rd row, to come forward. The assistant is a small, quiet man named Fosbulieu. He stands up and walks forward quickly. Tobias shows him the clinic's visitor log copies and asks if the dates match anything in Celeste's calendar. Foss looks at them. His face goes pale. He swallows. He says yes. He says those dates correspond to afternoons Celeste said she was visiting her mother. He says he had flagged the inconsistency once, but was told not to raise it again. Tobias asks who told him that. Foss looks at Celeste, and then looks quickly away. He says it came from someone close to the house. Celeste steps forward now. She is still holding herself together. She says Foss is confused. She says she has nothing to do with any clinic visits. She says her hands are clean. She looks at Tobias and says she loves him. She says she has done nothing wrong. She says they have built something real together, and she is not going to let some catering girl destroy it with a piece of paper. Her voice is getting louder. The guests are watching every move. Someone near the back starts recording on their phone. A security man moves to stop them. Tobias walks back to where he has been standing at the front of the hall. He reaches into his inside jacket pocket and pulls out the potency report again. He reads it one more time quietly to himself. Then he folds it again. He looks at the ceiling for a moment. Then he looks down at the floor. Then he looks at Celeste. He says he paid for this private fertility test 6 weeks ago. He says he did it quietly because he had received one anonymous message suggesting the infertility diagnosis he had been given was not real. He says the results confirmed it. He says he is not infertile. He says he never was. The hall becomes loud now. People are talking all at once. Celeste's mother is shouting something. Someone knocks over a chair. The officiant has stepped far back near the curtain. Celeste looks like the ground has moved under her feet. She is still standing, but her body has shifted. She looks at Tobias and says slowly that he had tested himself without telling her. She says that is a betrayal. She says he had no right. Tobias says calmly that he had every right when he had been lied to about his own body for 2 years. Celeste says the test could be wrong. She says those tests are not always accurate. She says labs make mistakes. Tobias says the accuracy is confirmed across 2 separate panels. So Celeste changes direction. She says even if he is fertile, it does not mean what everyone is thinking. She says maybe there were other reasons she could not get pregnant. She says maybe the issue was on her side. Kessie stands still and says nothing. She has already said what she came to say. She is not going to argue. The papers speak for themselves. Tobias looks at Kessie and tells her he is sorry she had to do this. He says he knows it took courage to walk into this room. Those words break something in the hall. Several women in the guest rows begin crying. An older man near the window shakes his head slowly. Celeste hears those words and something in her shifts. She stops performing. She looks at Tobias with raw eyes now. She says quietly that she had only been protecting them. She says if he had known the truth, everything would have fallen apart. She says she found out he was fertile 8 months before the wedding. She says she had dealt with it. She thought she had dealt with it. The room goes cold with those words. Dealt with it. Tobias repeats the phrase back to her. He asks what she means by that. Celeste realizes she has said too much. She closes her mouth. Tobias asks again. His voice is no longer calm. It has dropped lower. He asks her what she did when she found out. Celeste looks at her mother. Her mother shakes her head slightly. Celeste looks back at Tobias and says she has not done anything harmful. She says she only made sure certain medical information did not reach him. She says she only tried to protect the future they had planned. Tobias says that is not protecting. He says that is controlling. He says she looked him in the eye every day for 8 months and said nothing. He says she let him plan this wedding. She let him stand here today, and she had known. Celeste starts crying now. Real tears this time, not the practiced kind. She says she loves him. She says she was afraid of losing him. She says she did not know what else to do. Tobias looks at her tears. He looks at them for a long moment. Then he looks away. He turns back to face the hall. He says to the guests that the wedding is not going to happen today. He says he is sorry they came. He says the food will still be served if they want to stay. A few people laugh nervously. Most people are still too shocked to move. Celeste's mother tries one more time. She stands up and says Tobias is making a mistake. She says Celeste is a good woman. She says one mistake does not undo years of love. She says Tobias should think about what he is throwing away. Tobias looks at her and says quietly that he is not throwing anything away. He is just finally seeing clearly. Celeste sits down on the nearest chair. Her dress spreads around her on the floor. She puts her face in her hands. Her shoulders shake. Her mother comes and puts a hand on her back. The guests begin slowly standing and moving. Some come to whisper to Tobias. Some leave without speaking. A few women look at Kessie with complicated expressions. Some with judgment, some with sympathy. Kessie stands near the side door where she entered. She is not sure if she should leave or stay. One of Tobias's cousins pushes through the crowd toward him. His name is Tobias Renaud. He is shorter than Tobias with a round face and loud energy. He grabs Tobias by the shoulder and says this is madness. He says Tobias has embarrassed the family. He says a man of his position does not do this in public. He says whatever the issue is, it should have been handled privately. Tobias looks at his cousin. He says he agrees it should have been handled privately, but it was not, because the people around him made sure he did not have that chance. Mattis goes quiet. Tobias walks through the hall slowly. People part to let him through. He goes out through the main doors and stands outside. The evening air is cooler now. The parking lot is full of expensive cars. He stands alone for a moment, just breathing. His security team hovers nearby at a distance. He reaches up and loosens his tie slightly. Celeste follows him outside. She stops a few feet behind him. She says his name. He turns around. She says she is sorry. He looks at her and says he heard her. She asks if sorry is enough. He says he does not know yet. She asks what will happen now. He says he needs time to understand what has been done to him. She asks if they are finished. He looks at her for a long time. He says he does not know what they are. He says what he knows is that she made a choice to manipulate his understanding of his own health. He says the choice has changed how he sees her. He says he is not angry anymore. He is just tired. She asks if he still loves her. He says that is the hardest part. He says yes. But love is not always enough. Celeste walks back inside alone. The next morning, Tobias sits in his large, quiet house. The wedding suit is folded on a chair in the corner of his bedroom. He has not hung it up. He sits at a small table near the window with a cup of tea. His phone has been ringing all night. Family, business contacts, a journalist whose number he does not recognize. He has not answered any of them. His phone buzzes on the table. It is his lawyer, a steady man named Hervé Castle. Tobias picks up. Hervé says he has seen the news. Tobias says yes. Hervé says he is ready whenever Tobias needs him. Tobias says he wants to understand the full scope of what Celeste did. He wants the clinic records pulled properly, through legal channels. He wants it clean and official. Hervé says he understands. 2 days pass. Tobias has not left the house. He has not answered the journalists. He has not released a statement. He has let the story circulate without feeding it. His PR manager has called 4 times. His mother has called 6 times. His mother's calls he answers on the 4th day. She is a small, steady woman named Giselle Renaud. She speaks to him plainly. She says she is not going to lecture him. She says she raised him to face difficult things directly, and she can see he is doing that. She says one thing only. She says whatever the truth is, she wants him to protect himself properly this time. Tobias says he understands. Hervé calls again on the 5th day. He says the clinic records confirm what Kessie described. A woman matching Celeste's description, using a false name, visited the clinic 3 months before the wedding and requested a fabricated infertility report. The clinic receptionist identified her from a photograph. Hervé says there is also the matter of Tobias's original infertility diagnosis from 2 years ago. He says he has been looking into the doctor who issued it. He says the doctor's practice was partially funded by a private investment group. He says one of the investors is Celeste's mother. Tobias is quiet for a long moment. He asks Hervé to say that again. Hervé repeats it. Tobias sits back in his chair. He asks Hervé to secure everything. Every document. Every connection. Celeste calls that evening. This time Tobias does not answer. He sits and watches the phone ring until it stops. Then it rings again. He watches it again. On the 3rd call he picks up. Celeste says she is not going to beg. She says she just needs to know if there is any part of him willing to hear her side properly. Not in the chaos of the wedding hall, just the 2 of them. Tobias says he is listening. She says she had been terrified of losing him. She says she had made the wrong choice. She says she knows that now. She says she needs him to know that carrying the lie has destroyed her inside, every day. Tobias says he believes her. She asks if that changes anything, and he says he does not know yet. 3 weeks after the canceled wedding, Celeste comes to the house. She sits across from him in the sitting room and says she is going to be honest with him completely now, even if it costs her everything. Tobias says, go ahead. She says the lie about his infertility did not start with her. She says her mother arranged the original diagnosis. She says her mother had been afraid that if Tobias had children, his attention and his wealth would shift away from the marriage, away from the family her mother was building around him. She says her mother had found a doctor willing to deliver a false result. She says Celeste had found out about it a year before the wedding, and instead of telling Tobias, she had kept it going. She had maintained the lie. She had gone to the clinic herself to make sure new records supported the old ones. The room is still. Tobias does not respond immediately. He sets down his glass. He says slowly that she has known for a year. She says yes. He says she carried that for a year while sitting across from him at dinner tables, while traveling with him, while planning a wedding. She says yes. He says he needs her to leave now. She says she understands. She stands up. She walks toward the door. She stops and turns and says she truly loves him. She says she knows that means nothing right now. She says she just needs him to know it was real, even if everything around it was wrong. He says he heard her. She leaves. That night, Tobias sits alone in the house. He has trusted Celeste completely. He has been building towards something with her for 2 years. He has believed she was the person he could build a real life with. And she had looked him in the eye every single day for an entire year, while knowing something enormous about his own body, his own future, his own ability to become a father. He does not go to sleep that night. He sits in the dark room until the light comes back outside. Then he gets up. He washes his face. He makes tea. He calls Hervé. He says he needs to talk about next steps. 2 days later, a story appears in a popular online publication. Someone has given a detailed account of the wedding to a journalist. The story is written in a way that makes Kessie look calculating and makes Celeste look like a heartbroken woman who made one understandable mistake. Tobias is described as cold and cruel for ending things in front of everyone. His PR manager calls immediately. She says they need to respond. Tobias says they will not respond. She says the silence will be interpreted badly. He says, let it move. She says people are already choosing sides online. He says people will always choose sides, and it is not his job to manage that. Kessie sees the article. She calls Hervé's office. She asks what she should do. Hervé relays the question to Tobias. Tobias says Kessie should say nothing. He says anyone who comes to her should be directed to Hervé. He says he will make sure she has support. Kessie says she is getting messages on her phone. Some supportive, some cruel. Someone has found her social media account and is leaving comments calling her names. She has locked the account, but it is too late for some of it. Tobias tells Hervé to tell her he is sorry that is happening. He says it will pass. He says he is in her corner. A man comes to Hervé's office 2 weeks later. He is not a lawyer. He is not a journalist. His name is Quentin Fevre, and he says he has information relevant to Tobias Renaud. He says he used to work for a private investigation firm. He says he was hired about 14 months ago by someone to look into Kessie Ampong. He says the person who hired him wanted to know everything about her, her address, her routines, who she spoke to, whether she had any connection to Tobias. He says he was instructed to keep the identity confidential. He has done so for over a year, but he says he has read the news. He says something about how the story is being framed is bothering him. He says he has a daughter of his own. He says he is not going to let a young woman be used as a piece in someone's game without coming forward. He places a folder on the desk. The name on the billing records inside is not Celeste. It is Celeste's mother. Tobias opens the folder slowly. He reads through the pages. The investigation has been extensive. Kessie's address at multiple points, records of when she left her flat, photographs of her outside her building, documentation showing she had tried to contact the clinic's ethics board, notes on which staff members she had spoken to. Everything has been mapped out and handed to someone who used it to make sure nothing reached Tobias. Tobias calls Celeste 3 days later. He says he needs to see her. She comes immediately. He places the folder on the table between them, but does not open it yet. He says he needs her to answer one question with complete honesty. He says if she lies, he will know, and that will be the last conversation they ever have. She says, okay. He asks if she knew that her mother had hired a private investigator to gather information on Kessie. Celeste looks at the folder. She looks back at Tobias. She says no. She says she did not know that. He says so she is telling him her mother acted without her knowledge on the investigation side. She says she found out about Kessie another way. She says a staff member at the clinic had mentioned a young employee was asking questions about the records. She says her mother found out later and took it upon herself to go further. He asks why she did not tell him. She says by that point she had already made her choice to hide the situation. She says she was already in too deep. He says she made the wrong choices and her mother made worse ones. And both of those things had been directed at a woman who had done nothing to deserve any of it. Celeste says yes. She says she wants to reach out to Kessie. She says she wants to apologize. Tobias says that is not his place to arrange. He says if she wants to do that, she will need to go through the proper channels. Hervé moves quickly on the legal side. Within a week, he has prepared documentation to have the matter of the surveillance and the fraudulent medical records addressed formally. Celeste's mother receives a formal legal letter. She does not contest it in the end. Tobias calls Kessie and tells her it is settled. She says thank you. He says no need. She says there is every need. She says she has been through a long road with no support. She says having someone believe her is not something she takes lightly. Months pass. The rhythm of things settles. Tobias releases one brief official statement confirming basic facts. It says the wedding was canceled due to a breach of trust involving falsified medical records. It says further matters are private. The response is mostly respectful. Tobias sits at his desk one evening. His phone buzzes. It is a message from Kessie. She says the clinic has offered her a formal apology and a permanent position in their administrative department. She says she wanted him to know. He types back, "You earned that." He puts the phone down. He thinks about a wedding he stood at in a dark suit with polished shoes waiting for something that had turned out to be the wrong shape. He thinks about a young woman in a catering uniform walking through tall doors holding an envelope in both hands. He thinks about how close he had come to never knowing. If Kessie had not come that day, if she had been blocked one more time, if she had given up, he would have married Celeste. He would have lived inside a version of his life that was built on a lie about his own body. He does not let the heaviness stay too long. He is not the kind of man who drowns in what could have been. He notes it. He files it. He lets it remind him to be careful going forward about what he allows to be built around him. He picks up his phone. He looks at Celeste's name. He puts the phone down. He looks at the wall of his study. Then he gets up and goes to the kitchen to make tea. The house feels different now. Not better, not worse. Just honest. And that is where we leave the story. Not with everything resolved. Not with everyone transformed, but with truth having made its way through. With a man who stood at an altar and made a choice to face what was real, even when it cost him everything he had planned. With a woman who walked through doors that terrified her because a lie deserved to be uncovered. Truth does not always arrive at a convenient time, but when it arrives, it changes the shape of everything. Sometimes the person who hands you the most important thing you will ever receive is someone you almost did not see. Standing quietly at the edge of your beautiful planned life, holding something true in both shaking hands. The question is never whether the truth arrives. It always arrives. The question is whether we are brave enough to open the envelope and whether the people around us are brave enough to let us. Thank you for watching this story all the way to the end. If this moved you, please like this video and subscribe to this channel so you never miss a story. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And we want to know where you are watching from. Drop a comment right now. Are you in New York, South Africa, Canada, Jamaica, London, Nigeria, Ghana, Australia, India, anywhere in the world? Tell us where you are. Your comment means more than you know. We read them. We see you, and we will see you in the next one.